in last place right now. It does appear that that still could be the case, but Beast Coast have very much impressed in how hard they have really gone in this league so far. And going into today, this could have been in an alternate universe. Oh, well, who's gonna not be last out of this game? But this is Beast Coast. Hey, can we win regulation against Mirage and get second place? Or for Mirage, can we turn this around against an ascendant team and sort of heat check them a little bit and show, hey, teams of, OXG lost to PB, Sonics lost to, and SSG lost to Beast Coast. Hey, we can also show up and stop the show on game day.
So bans going forward, and the attacker is actually being quite interesting so far. Brava being knocked out makes perfect sense to me when you consider how much capability she has to steal away the utility in the midst of the site. The Montaigne as well getting knocked out there also, alongside the Valkyrie now as move over to the defensive side.
Do you want to know why they banned the Monty?
Why is that?
Mr. B is a demon. I'm not joking.
With a shield?
I don't really get it. I don't entirely understand. Mr. B is probably one of the better shield players in North America, not just on Blitz, but also Montaigne. Not only in terms of how well he can play it, but also he just loves shields. And I imagine this is a map that Mirage likely do not want to deal with that on either. But we also see on the defender side of things as well, less interesting bans. Because we had Brava and Montaigne, super cool. Then we have Valk Solus, which we kind of expected, and that'll leave Azami as the remaining defender that Beast Coast will have to work with on their defenses. And sometimes, we'll see Valk unbanned and then not brought, or Solus unbanned and not brought. But Azami's in that sweet spot where she's not like Valk, where she's been banned for like 3 years now and not a lot of teams play her, but not like Solus, where she's a little bit more situational. She's in that sweet spot where you can slot her in pretty much anywhere, especially on Chalet, and it can make sites like bar games a lot easier to defend.
Pretty much a solo defense-capable operator now when it comes to that upstairs library setup. So she's obviously going to have additional support inside of that area, but still gives Doc, who's going to be playing her on this round, that capability to extend up directly into it. And there'll be the extra bits of support that'll come into play as necessary.
Might have a rehost incoming. That's not my job to call it.
Remaining.
So it will have a rehost. So take a snapshot in your mind. What did you see? What have we seen? We see a Bar Games defense, see a little bit on the attack. But unfortunately, John, we've not seen much yet to talk about. We've at least seen the Azami.
True.
We have at least seen that the Azami will be brought. Normally the position that you see the Azami player play in this case, Doc, could be pulled a little bit back inside of Mezzanine or could be playing very aggressively inside a library. And as you characterized her, I feel like this position, more so than most Azami positions on other maps, really showcases how she is a solo defender. It's like library on bar and games are on Chalet, CCTV on border. Those are the two main positions I think of where, like, yeah, Azami can actually literally just hold down an entire, like, quarter of a map. Like, an entire vector.
Like Geisha on Skyscraper a little bit too. It's probably another good spot where she can really take command there. So once again, quite a few areas there. But as you said, it's like kind of like few and far between right now where you really like or really want to bring her and absolutely slot her in over any other operator. For the most part, you can still get the job done with a combination of a few others. But that's the key point, is that once again, she takes up the place potentially what 2 to 3 other operators would take up in those positions, which is why she is so still desirable, even though she's been in the meta for, I think, just over a year now, in fact.
And her being up is also good because, as I mentioned, it makes bar games a lot easier to defend. That was a site when Chalet was first introduced. It was basically bar and games, and then we're trying to figure out the other 3.
Yep.
And then it became bar and games, kind of Master Bedroom Office for a bit, but mainly bar games, garage, and kitchen dining. Master Bedroom Office sucks. We don't like that one. And then recently, over the past few months, which this was a shift I did not anticipate, and I kind of only realized as we were halfway through, it's now become bar games, that site that everyone loved when the map came out. Yeah, that site's actually Garbo. Like, we do not like that map at all.
It's because everyone gets so much dry run practice clearing the darn thing when it first got added.
Well, I imagine that actually is likely partially the case, because for me, in my mind, when I would think of Chalet a couple years ago, I'd think, oh, it's that map where the attackers get in their positions and just clear things with util, like the library shield on bar games. Like, that's what I would immediately think of. And so it probably got dry ran to death. And also just having to defend 2 floors like you need to do on bar games. Once teams start figuring out the map, that puts more pressure on the defenders to hold. Whereas on Master Bedroom and Office, it's still not easy to defend, but you really only have to focus on 1 floor. Kitchen and dining, you also need to focus on 2 floors, but it's not as compact like bar and games is. You have pretty much half of the entire second floor and half of the entire first floor to deal with. Then we have garage, which is a little bit of a weird case, kind of roam all over the map, but that's the main reason, or a couple of the reasons why I think bar games has fallen out of favor, but also why Azami makes it a little better.
Office as well still gives you some great play capability, even if you lose like the 2 main walls that you're looking to defend over on the piano side of that hole, or the kind of like the 90 wrap that goes over towards library. If you lose those, and if you're set up properly, you can still kind of back up to the next room inside of the bedroom itself, assuming you're not getting pushed from solarium at the same time.
Some fallback positions.
Yep, and still hold like a pretty valid defense 9 times out of 10. So definitely a pretty easy go-to site for a lot of defensive teams. But as we said before, keep that mental picture in your mind, because we're more likely going to be seeing this same exact setup here now as we go back to the bar gaming room for the resumation of this game now. Mirage still on the attack, Beast goes, of course, on the defense, and we're starting out on the same site. Same bans and everything. Like we said, just had that rehost that we had to implement there, but we are back into it now. And everything goes smoothly at this point. We can get ourselves into that first round.
Weather update. Hat is now, after today's game, the second highest rated player in the league.
Still not wearing a hat, though.
Still not. That was really Spiff was the only guy wearing a hat, and the dude named Hat was not wearing a hat.
We gotta give him a hat.
We do. I'll send him a hat.
His team can send him one.
But I can do it too. I can do it as well. I just want to be involved.
Just give him a Beast Coast hat.
Another update.
Sport it, little dad hat.
There was a two-parter.
What's up with
Kansan is the only player on. Well, let me make sure. Hold up. Yeah, Kansan is the only player on Mirage over 1.0 rating, and it's a 1.01 at that. Which I think actually Kansan was probably the most hyped up player on Mirage that was assembled on this squad, partially because I think Rampy also came in a little late. He was dropped by SSG a little bit after SI, whereas Kansan, pretty much once it was revealed that Drip was building a Mirage roster himself, it was like, oh, well, Kansan's probably going to be on there, right? And, of course, that's the case.
Absolutely. You're going to get some interesting operator picks if you haven't already noticed it for Mirage right from round number 1. Then it's Yeti picking it up as well. The Blitz being implemented by him to expect more than likely a relatively quick take here on the inside of Library once they clear out one of these windows, at least enough for Yeti to make that initial entry.
I was very much hoping that Yeti was not going to hop into that window because Hyper is still in that very aggressive position inside of Library, but the attack is often, or at least should be, able to clear this position about 45 seconds to a minute, toss in a couple flashbangs, or in this case, some capping out firebolts, and drive the Rooney back then into the site. And it's once that happens that we'll see the Blitz send it in through that window, and instead you send it in now, but the Rooney has already fallen back. Now we'll charge the Azami, and instead, the Azami is not killed by the Blitz, but domed by the Capitao. Surf also takes down one that's Hyper, who rotated back into the site, and now Mirage, with a very quick early round, have not only secured a 5v3, but have also almost entirely secured that top floor.
Clean opener, saying the least there for Mirage, and already, as you can see, they're looking for the drop down this early on, and they're going to commit themselves to it. A late wrap still is in play on the second floor that could cause problems. We'll focus more on that later, as another entry was found by Mirage on the drop down, taking care of the player in the site connector. Vertical, not even going to play for that rotate either, runs directly into Yeti on the Blitz as he tries to commit himself to the flank. So bye-bye to any effective play that would come from that on the surprise. DP Fire gets one more, leaving it all on Vert now for the 1v4. One trade had been found against Kansan, but that is it so far. So it's a straight 1v4 now for Vertical to try and clutch this one back out. Yeti gonna make quick work of that as well, finishing it off with the melee on the Blitz. Beautifully opened up here by the Mirage rosters. They're gonna take commanding control of round number 1.
A good trendsetter, good momentum builder, good way to start Chalet for Mirage, able to take their first round on the attack, but not to put a little asterisk early on. It's one of those kind of rounds where you take the defense off guard, they're suddenly stunned, they don't know what to do, but it's not the kind of play that, while it was good for Mirage, they're not going to do it 5 rounds in a row.
Yep.
They're not even probably going to do it if Beast Coast go back to bar and games. So they've got their one on their attacking half, as Rexon just mentioned, is also in the interview a little bit attacker-sided and a little bit, kind of a lot of it. So now let's see how Mirage actually want to go about these Chalet attacks. Because they got that bar games win, but now they have to go to kitchen and dining, which is a little bit more firmly in the column, or at least firmly towards the defenders, even if it isn't completely defender-sided. This is a map that they'll actually have to take this a little bit more normally and not just send it in with a blitz.
A couple minor repicks going to come out here for the attacking side as well, mainly just stylistic and formal, and we are also going to have the Lion in for a little bit better tracking in the mid-round there as well. So that'll be a bit more of a major... Okay, hold on. We're really changing the form of this
blitz
one.
Again.
Yep, Blitz comes in, but not for Yeti. This time it's going to be Surf picking up the mantle, alongside a late change also for DP Fire to add a Ying into the lineup also. So could still be something spicy, and more importantly, something fast from Mirage here if they're able to set themselves up for it early enough.
I've already had a lot of spicy food over here. I don't need any more heat. I'm okay, thank you very much. Well, Yeti also Yeti get a little too close to the sun, unfortunately, or maybe Hyper bringing the heat to him as Yeti's put to 1 HP. Hyper Has some damage dealt to him in turn, but the Mirage roster so far, the worst for wear after that opening exchange, even though everyone was able to keep their heads. Rampy prepping that Gone on the office doorway, waiting for Surf to send it on in, John. Remember how I said this wasn't going to happen again, that Lightning was not going to strike twice? Well, as the Candelas go out and Surf doesn't find anybody for the time being, Hyper is unfortunately met with chaos, but Doc is not suffering any fools.
Doc quick on the response, stops things from getting too far out of control, or does he, is the problem now. Kansan picks up another entry. The back end of this setup also going to start to fall apart as well. Vertical tries to rotate back in, so does another one of the members that is defensive side, but they can no longer maintain this presence upstairs. Only Doc remains on the upstairs hole. Thankfully, don't believe he's been spotted just yet, but he doesn't want to take the risk on being here when the pressure folds through, so he falls back as well. That's full upstairs control taken by Mirage, only about a minute into the round, so very quickly cleared back out. However, they have already used their kind of pocket ace here in the form of Surf. The blitz is done and dusted. Still with the player advantage too at a 4v3, but they're gonna have to pull out the rest of this execute without him and make the full transition downstairs as well.
But they have acquired that top floor control. They now can use Kansan to open up these floors. And sometimes on a kitchen dining attack, we'll see attacking teams only go for a half clear, only open up an angle into office, not go for that full control. But now because Mirage committed so much of that clear and came away with a man advantage, they not only can get this vertical control, but also with that man advantage, leverage it for a very solid execute. Final Candela goes out, but nobody from Mirage builds up off of it. Rampy just hops down onto vertical, tries to Goomba stomp him. Unfortunately, that play doesn't work out. Doc also fights back, and now we're back to equilibrium, but Mirage are looking to end this round very quickly, but unfortunately for them, it doesn't seem like it's going their way.
Beast Coast is able to hold back the tide, it seems, here as Mr. B finishes things off against Yeti as he had already been down. Kansan with the drop, though, equalizes us one final time into a 1 versus 1 now, and already seems to have the intel on where Mr. B is playing from. Knows he's going to wrap back up those main stairs, gets the noise intel once again, so tries to go for the pre-fire. Mr. B knows once again he's baiting him out a little bit here with the barbed wire, but he'll stick onto this one this time around here. Off of it this time, takes the fight, but no! Mr. B has the composure, just a little bit better to give the round over to Beast Coast instead.
3 Mr. B smoke 1vx's so far in the league. That's just a Doma right there. I don't even have that one written down, but my man just cannot be stopped sometimes on the smoke when he's playing that defense. So Mirage have now tried 2 rounds in a row to take very quick upstairs control with the blitz and the Ying, and to their credit, it has worked both times. Even with maybe a Warden in play, Beast Coast are struggling to find an answer in that early round to repel the blitz, and in this case, to repel the Ying, and make things better for their team. Unfortunately there, as opposed to Barn Games, Mirage did not get the kills they needed while retaining a man advantage. They were able to start pushing on in, but as opposed to Barn Games, this time the kills were traded out, and that's where Mirage started to struggle. It was a really played 1vx by Mr. B, but now I'm intrigued. Will Mirage pick the blitz a 3rd time? That's what I'm looking at right now.
Seems like a more composed follow-through is going to come out here on round number 3. We still have a few more seconds left in the repick phase, and a few more of those repicks are starting to show up, but it seems relatively calm still. Yeah, when everything is said and done, just the Finka being added for a little bit of a mid-round boost. If things do get slowed up like we saw on round number 2 there, they can add that extra juice into themselves and the health that will come along with it. Aside from that, there are really no surprises when it comes to the attacking line. Pretty straightforward from the Mirage side of things.
Aside from the Finka, it's a lot of the usual suspects you would hope for. You might bring a Thermite on, say, a site like Kitchen and Dining, but for Barn Games, all you really need is that Hibana. Put a couple X Kairos on that mezzanine wall, pressure anybody like the Azami, for example, who could be playing in that position. And once you open that hole up, push the defender back. Right now, we're not looking at the Hibana, we're looking at the Nook. Why? Because him and Hyper are right next to each other, with Hack very close by as well, though I believe down below. Mirage not going for a library take this time. Instead, they're going for a solar take, which is something that has sort of fallen out of favor, at least for attacking Barn Games, but maybe that's only because we don't see Barn Games as much as we see the other sites nowadays. But they'll go and acquire the full control of this top floor, instead of just trying to directly brute force into library. They'll get a buffer zone that they can fall back to if Beast Coast start getting aggressive and winning fights in this very position.
So moving ourselves deeper into that round. So far, the kind of slowest play we've had as of yet from either team. But things are potentially going to heat up over the next few seconds. You can see Mirage starting to take some control over by Office. And will indeed try to follow that through with a clear. over in areas like Library, but the X-Kairos not going to work out here initially. Defense has the angle to counter that one back out as they just shoot in through the wall to be able to find those shots. No success found yet on Mirage. Opening up the angle, they need to clear things out from Library. Beast Coast, keep in mind, of course, already wasted over half the playtime in the round from this position, too. They have lost that deployable shield at the top of blue stairs. That's going to limit some aggressive capability, but overall, as you can see, Mirage have kind of had enough of wasting time here for that clear. Are going to begin to refocus their efforts, at least for Rampy, on the first floor instead.
And with the Nook position there, they're going to look to Rampy to try to even things in their favor, especially now that Kansan's been knocked off the board. So he'll move in through Fireplace and try to look for anything in the site. If he doesn't, here we go. He'll move up to the top floors. The flashbangs go in. Doc is wise to this. Doc is waiting, but he still falls to Yeti. So instead, now they'll look to the player inside of small box. He goes down as well. And by down, I mean down the hatch, because boy, he's still in this fight. Vertical gets the kill, and BC get the round, even though Mirage quickly move into that second floor.
Nicely done maintaining the pressure, especially inside of the Library blue stairs connector there. Beautifully done. As like you had said, that player had full intel, or at least the player next to him, so you know, full intel with the push coming back up through main stairs in the living room lobby, but just unable to fend it back off. Backs up before potentially giving up that position and their life along with it. However, and the follow through from the rest of the defense is just beautiful. Trade after trade. Mirage, unfortunately, just seemingly did not have a response to that one. So we're going to see a quick closeout for the defense as they maintain the control once again.
Now bar game's won by Beast Coast. They can move on to one of the more standard sites in their site rotation, this time being Garage. Mirage, of course, if you're just now tuning in, have not attacked yet. It's only been a bar and a dining game between these two teams for rounds 1 through 3. Now you'll have a new site, a third site on the board. Normally for this one, I mentioned earlier that this one doesn't fit into some of the same categories as the other ones. That's because for Garage, it's typically a loose roam on the top floor. If you're holding a position solidly, it'd be dining, which you're looking at right now. They'll open up the hatch, they'll have somebody play in there to deny anybody walking in through wine and just getting an easy plant down. But if they're holding a position solidly, that's the one. Otherwise, it's usually a couple roamers rotating around, or in this case, hopping out of windows. But unfortunately, John, Hypers don't.
The worst part is, too, if you watch the health pools for that one, there's like 3 or 4 shots that seemingly connect onto Yeti before Yeti even responds to it, and Yeti just domes Hyper out. So really unfortunate for Hyper. We didn't actually catch the duel itself on camera, but Hyper seemingly had a pretty clear opener onto that one, but just could not control the spray, or something else went wrong. And Yeti was able to get the fire back to instantly knock him out of play.
Well, you know the phrase, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take? Well, sometimes you miss the ones that you do take, too.
Very true.
Doesn't go your way sometimes.
So Mirage once again gain early advantage inside of round number 4 here by taking control of that early aggression that had come out from Hyper. Doc taking some pretty heavy damage here in the early round as well, so he's going to be down at about 30 HP. However, it looks like the defense has had a pretty good effort so far of actually fending off the pressure on Snowmobile. I don't believe they've used, certainly have not used all of the hard breach, especially when we consider the fact that we have a second committed hard breach in the form of Kansan, but at least one of those Exos has been burnt successfully on Surf. Rampy with a nice dash out here on the attack as well, catches Mr. B trying to gain some revenge for that earlier pick against Hyper.
And Hat on the top floor right now will likely have to rotate back to the site, or at least rotate closer to the site, just to bolster the site defense, because the problem here, he could maybe catch someone rotating around that top floor or go for a flank, but if Mirage are able to read this quickly and start moving in within 20 to 30 seconds, like Rampy could do by pushing down Library stairs, Hat will be caught out of position and away from his team. So dropping down the hatch, now he can pressure main lobby. This is a much better position, but its value is quickly diminishing as Mirage get 2 more kills, and now Doc, put to low HP early on in the round, picks up 1, but looks away right as Kansan pushes down the stairs, and so Mirage end up things flawlessly in round 4.
Yep, no credit for that kill, unfortunately, as the players that were fully down, so it does not work out in their favor. A great adjustment instead just comes in overall here for our attackers as they're able to rebound quite quickly and tie things up in 2-2 fashion here. Beast Coast taking some command for themselves, but also losing that control now as Mirage once again is able to take command inside of the early round, where Beast Coast have been struggling a little bit to try and find these opening kills.
Yeah, Mirage had a very good read of that. They got the kill onto Hyper because Hyper jumped out a window, unfortunately missed some of his shots, and yet he ends up killing him as Hyper went for the spawn peak. And so then Mirage go, okay, we know there are roamers off site. Let's not try to just full clear them from the second floor downward. Let's send Rampy in. He'll cut off the Library stairs, and if there's anybody over by Solar side, well, they're likely going to have to rotate that way anyway, or hell, maybe they'll get away, but we already have the man advantage. We know someone is around Library. If we just cut off his rotation and kill him, that's a 5v3, and we're not really going to complain if we didn't make that a potential 5v2. So I really like that call from Mirage to be very small with the control they went for, but very impactful nonetheless.
5 seconds left before insertion.
All right, so once again, both teams tied up. So resetting things down now as we have 2 more rounds to go. Potential for a 3-3, still definitely alive and well, but both these teams certainly wanting to control things at 4-2, if at all possible. If not though, see once again this Frostmat's gonna try to trip things up inside of what used to be the front door area. So very similar to how we had Beast Coast setting things up the previous attempt down here as well. You know, that gave Mr. B's position up, so he was trying to clutch things up in the 1 versus 2 that he had played out there, ultimately still able to win it also. So Mirage is gonna have to pay a little bit better attention to that this time around.
Beast Coast better pay attention. Look at Rampy creeping up those stairs. They certainly know about DP Fire. Already tagged 30 seconds into the round. Rampy, who knows about him? He can hide, stealth himself, avoid the gaze of those default cameras, and take control when the defense isn't expecting. Now, there's nobody from Beast Coast over in Library or over in Mezzanine. That much is true. They don't need Rampy to take that. It's free real estate. Anybody can take it if they want to. But Rampy could maybe lurk in the mid-round, hold down below. He's got those nades to destroy any hard breach denial on that wall as well. That's what they'll use him for right now. But at this point, the main job they need him for is done. Now he can kind of do what he did the last round. Maybe go up, lurk at the bottom of a stairwell, creep up through that top floor as well, and catch one of the defenders off guard, and hopefully get Mirage an opening pick.
Piper's opening up another window for himself to play through here when the pressure comes in through Mirage. Mirage keeping themselves very composed at the moment, not wanting to overpress any part of this round right now. As we've gone over halfway through it, and no real action has been found on either side. Still no kills yet to be picked up. This is by far the deepest we have gone into a round without seeing at least 2 players come to blows at some point inside of it. Mirage still with a long checklist of things to take care of as well, but they are trying to speed it up a little bit. As you can see with the 2, if not 3 players set up downstairs to push directly into the sites, potentially kind of ignore the upstairs extension that Beast Coast have.
It's very different to what they did last time. Before they full committed, got all top floor control. Now they have none. At best, they're just going to use Kansan to hold an angle and make sure nobody retakes the top floor to flank them once they go in for this dining plant. But it's still a 5v5. If they just walk in, Doc has a C4. Mr. B has just used his last smoke, but that's still 10 seconds to go, and you still might not get a kill. Mirage needs something more decisive, but if Beast Coast also just let this bomb go down, it could be possible. But that's the pick Mirage we're looking for.
Surf opens things up with the opening pick against Vertical. Doc, of course, however, has the capability to spot back through the smokes. We're going to see him, as well as Mr. B, pick up 2 response kills, and that will slow the pace down to a crawl for Mirage. They'll find the speed necessary, though, with Yeti's trade back onto Hyper, and DP Fire continues that trend now by knocking out Mr. B. Doc, or rather Hat, the next to fall here, as now it all falls to Doc. Inside of the 1v3, 1 denial of a plant could win the round, but he goes for the sprint, and that sails him down the river as the attack once again finds their footing and secures another round.
And around round 3, looked like Mirage might be slipping away on this half. Now they're 1 round away from securing what you would hope for on Chalet Attack, that 4-2 half. And as well, now there's no sight that Beast Coast have firmly in their territory. They've gone to bar twice, lost it once, won it once. Gone to dining twice, lost it once, won it once. So now Beast Coast, they will go back to bar, as Garage is a very one-sided affair going Mirage's way. But Mirage have shown that they might have somewhat of an idea for how to take this. They didn't go with the Blitz, but the Ying has proven to at least make things a little bit easier for Mirage. It's not like, all right, why do I always do this? Why do I do this? I always say, I get excited about the operator, and then start talking about it, it gets taken away. And the Blitz again.
And they're also changing who has the Blitz for a 3rd time in this half so far. Surf had it 1 round, Yeti had it on the initial round. Now it's DP Fire picking it up. So once again, Blitz constantly changing hands as well. So really dedicated to that role, which would, I'm not gonna lie, be a little bit strange if they did have it, but
the Blitz roll.
Yeah. DP Fire takes that on the mantle this time around, and we still have, again, a pretty normal assortment of attacking operators alongside of that one. So let's see if they try to force the issue here. As like you said, no Candelas or any other forms of quick execute utilities, you might call it, to follow this up from Mirage. It's really just the Blitz that's kind of, I guess, an eyesore right now.
Does the Blitz hop in an office window? Or I guess heaven window, technically.
I guess he's gonna pinch from ego side onto the library hold, but
can't say I've seen this one before.
yeah.
I'm excited to see how it pans out, though.
It's not gonna potentially go the greatest, though. As we can see, there's definitely a bit more of an extension over here towards the office and bedroom side, too, so there'll be an immediate counter to that if he tries to force the issue. Obviously, Doc and the other player inside of library are not really gonna have much power to stand against it, but as you can see here, the presence from vertical is still going to be a little bit of an issue if he tries to force it through ego. It's getting more and more obvious. Yeah, Doc spots it early. He's going to fall. He doesn't even want any part of this one.
Yeah.
Falls back, but it gives way to Rampy to claim not just one, but 2 entries, and a third as well now found. DP Fire does get down in the process, but that doesn't even matter. It's all down to Hat now, as 4 outright kills are claimed for Mirage on the entry. Hat, the responding in kind, picks up 2, and DP Fire, the player that was down, is not one of them. So this is realistically a 1v2 set before the remaining members of Mirage at the moment here. Rampy over with the immediate counter angle to try and find Hat if he wraps through the rotation, and there we go. Prevents disaster as Mirage still control the round overall.
It's a 2-prong rush. We focused on one. We were looking at the blitz, but Rampy, he was sitting outside that main stairs window. Now, you can just hop in and immediately sprint into the site. Now, I looked at the blitz, and I was like, all right, you're bringing a blitz. You have already shown that the blitz is the main spear by which you establish control in the round. Logically, as a fool like I am, I was like, okay, let's look at that. That's how they're going to get the control. But Rampy instead, he's smarter than that. He's more enlightened. He said, you know what they're going to do? Because they're going to do that. Beast Coast's going to look at the blitz. They're going to get all worried. Doc's going to rotate back. You know what's going to do? I'm going to shoot them as they rotate back. I'm going to shoot them as they start running around like chickens with their heads cut off, not wondering what to do. And based off that, because of that, Mirage, even though they brought the blitz 3 rounds in a row, which is about 2 more rounds, and I thought they had any right to bring it, they've secured themselves that 4-2 half, but now they got to go to the defense. And now, I don't think Beast Coast will bring the blitz, but now they're bringing their own chaos to the party, and we'll see how Mirage handle that.
In terms of at least operator selections, nothing crazy is going to pop out here for the Beast Coast picks as they now lock things in on a repick. They will have a Lion in fold here, but it's more especially when you consider that Lion was used quite prominently, at least once by Mirage back in the previous half. We're going to make perfect sense of why Doc will bring it into the fold here. Start things out on round number 7 now that we switch sides, and it's Beast Coast, of course, on the attack for the first time. Nomad also in play as well here, so big emphasis on countering any roam game that Mirage may try to deploy towards that could lead into some late round flanks, especially if Beast Coast really tunnel vision themselves for a focus on the execute once they're set up to do so.
At least looking to gather some intel on that roam early on with the positions on Solar Repel as well. The Solar take on Dining. This could always be a little risky, but with no Jaeger or Wamai on the board, and so nobody directly playing Solar Stairs, at least nobody that can't be grenaded, it's a little bit of an easy position to take. Vertical is domed Kansan, so the Warden down as well. No smokes on the board, but in case you use those 9 flashes for the late round, you'll be very happy that nobody can see through them. Hyper's now cut down Rampy, and in about a minute, with seemingly no one actually in the damn building, Beast Coast have a 5v3 and still more than half the round to go.
The attack continues to dominate as far as entry power is concerned, and in this round, it's just going to continue to find kill after kill after kill. Mirage giving themselves away, it seems, to the members of Beast Coast as they continue to line up successful attacking frags here. Mirage, you can see, is out and about, too. They're continuing to try, like I said, I think they're giving these kills away, just kind of peeking into it, unfortunately. We can see at least a little bit of that from Surf there as he tries to stem the tide, but he's alone. Doesn't really have a choice in the matter at this point. Now that's down to a 2v5. Pretty much impossible to prevent now. DP Fire is so far disconnected from the action. There's not really a whole lot he can do about it, so just has to allow it to go down. Beast Coast secure that and pretty much have the round already. DP Fire may make an attempt here, but once again, with how far disconnected he is, it's not really looking like he's trying to line himself up for much here. I think he might have already kind of called it for himself. We can consider this one a pretty safe round for Beast Coast, which can bring us back to a very close game still at 3-4. There's the first kill, though, of the retake coming in from DP Fire. A bit late here, but still making a bit of an attempt for it.
I think he's got it.
Well, let's see if you're right about that one. He's now stuck literally behind a wall. Okay, that's a nice little one tap right there. But yep, the long hop over the breach is unfortunately what kills him this time around here. That'll finally put him right into the crosshairs of a preset member of our attack, already well waiting to shut this one down.
Well, he didn't have it.
Yeah, you're a little wrong on that one.
You know, sometimes you got to root for the underdog.
It would have been crazy if you were right about that one. And the fact that it followed up with an immediate Deagle headshot. I'm not gonna lie, a little scary.
Literally be all-time great moment. Imagine if he like 3K collided with that Deagle. You would not be laughing right now.
I honestly would have trouble casting the rest of that round, to be honest with you, because I'd be like, how did you just know that?
I'd walk out the studio, to be honest with you. I'd be like, I can't top this. Well, unfortunately for Mirage, it seems they gave up a lot of gunfights in the early round, as you astutely pointed out and suggested, which I believe to be the case. Gave up a lot of gunfights, peaking members of Beast Coast. They very easily and graciously picked up those kills. And now we move forward, back to the same site that we just played. Mirage will likely just not at all peak them to the same extent we saw before, and we will also see some changes in their lineup. Before, there was no Jaeger or Wamai. Now there is a Jaeger and a Wamai. So Mirage can pressure that Solar Stairs rappel a lot more aggressively, and also, hopefully, capture only the 2 nades that Beast Coast are bringing, as they're not bringing a Sledge or somebody else, so all they need to catch are those 2 grenades from the Yana, and then they can just sit back. No need to peek.
Yep. Like you said, though, definitely need to kind of find a little bit better composure this time when it comes to a willingness to take early gunfights here, as Beast Coast was more than ready for the challenge. And overall, once again, so far from what we've seen, just kind of the attack dominating things on the entry game. Of course, we've only played out 1 round on this second half so far, so we need to see if that's a trend of just the attacking side of this map overall, or if that's just, once again, showing Mirage's own prowess on the attacking side, and Beast Coast just having a good start to things on round number 1. Away from that, though, it's obviously a much slower rolling affair here, with Mirage not biting too heavily into any of those opening bids here. Continuing to kind of sit back, wait things out. That first EE1D goes in as well, but I don't believe anyone triggers it, so no intel found from Beast Coast off of that 33% of utility usage or so.
First flashbang goes in, but again, not many from Beast Coast, at least on first glance in the building. However, there are a couple attackers on that bottom floor at the moment. We've got Vertical on West Main Stairs, and a lot of attention paid by Beast Coast to this trophy window. Of course, Mr. B now rotating to Solar. It seems that they're getting the same positions they were before, but with Vertical on West Main now inside of the site, it's in the control of Beast Coast. But Rampy has switched positions with Vertical. He's flanked the flanker. He's now looking to retake control of that site and hopefully take out Vertical before Beast Coast can get in the position.
A lot more drone usage going out this time for Beast Coast as well, needing to figure things out before they can work their way into the site. Rampy with a good spot, but the spray's not following it up. The Lion gets himself directly behind the wall, right behind his spray, and now it's Doc taking full control, not only of Rampy, but another member of this defense as well. Mirage just cannot make these aggressive plays stick, no matter what they try to do. Suddenly things are back down into a 2 versus 4 as Kansan gets at least 1 response going here, but it's only the beginning, and unfortunately it'll be a very quick end as well. 2 immediate trades show up for the attack, and they take a commanding second round here in the half as well.
2 wins on dining as well for Beast Coast on that attacking side. Mirage, now they're hand-forced, will have to go to some other site, be it bedroom and office, be it garage, or bar and games, as we've seen quite a bit from Beast Coast so far. And I was curious to see if we'd see this, and we will, from Mirage. I've noticed that Drip, even going back to the LCQ, a lot of teams will wait to see if they lose 3 rounds in a row, maybe if they're on the defense 3 sites in a row before taking a timeout. Drip loves these 2-round timeouts. Now here it's not as much of an example on that. I'm more referring to like they lose 2 rounds in a row at the beginning of the game and then Drip will call the timeout. Here, it makes a little bit more sense. You're on the defense, you've just dropped 2 attacks or 2 defenses in a row to the attack. It's 4-4, your lead's about to evaporate. So it's still a 2-round timeout, but here I think there are other factors at play as to why Drip hit the pause button.
Definitely agree with you, though, in terms of what we generally see versus, of course, how Drip tends to kind of take control of things. For a lot of teams, especially teams like the Sonics as well, seem to stick to this rule more predominantly than at least a lot of other North American teams that I noticed do it. It's usually your first full site rotation you want to see play out. And that's because, again, that gives the coach the full breadth of intel on all 3 of those rotations, especially for the defensive side more than anything, and then can allow him to give input on all 3 of those compared to just like the 2 that are played out, as we've seen that input now come in just on the second round. So they're going to go to a new site, and they won't necessarily have any play tape from that new site just yet. So this is kind of the difference in style here. But once again, if the coach has confidence in his calls without necessarily needing to see things played out first, then more power to them.
Well, if there's one thing we can say about Drip, he is confident. If we can say anything, the man is confident in his decisions.
Very, very true. So we'll see if this ends up being the right call for Mirage. Now, like you said, initially off to a hot start as they came into the first round of this defense, but have been unable to follow it through with Beast Coast really taking control, kind of taking command of things here in the first 2 rounds that have been played out, giving away far too many gunfights over to the attackers. So Mirage hopefully going to bring a new strategy out to try and stop that this time. Once again, some small change-ups to the lineup, as we are going to see the Aruni added back in here, the laser gates blocking things off mainly around Library Yeti as well, still with the Warden in play also, in case things get a little hot on the site.
Now, certainly a new strategy for Mirage and a new strategy for their defense, but not a new strategy in the grand scheme of the game. This is very similar to Beast Coast lineup. You got the Azami inside of Mezzanine or Library, the Aruni roaming around. The big change, though, is that I believe Kansan is playing in that kind of death spot inside of Library. He can throw out those magnets, and even if the attack had brought a Capitao, which they have, those bolts can get caught by magnets, whereas they cannot get caught by ADSs. So not only is this not perfect to counter the Capitao, it could also prolong the amount of time that Kansan is able to stay here by wasting that utility and it continuously regenerating and pausing Beast Coast for a little bit longer. Even then, they have the Azami, Mirage do, to back him up, hold Mezzanine for a little longer, and with a minute already gone, I mean, you gotta hand it to Mirage so far. Able to waste a minute, and Beast Coast still have a little bit of work to do before they can pressure DP fire. Good early round for the defense.
So Mirage is fending off a little bit more of that pressure this time around here, but it's still that first entry tempo where you need to see things come to blows. As where Mirage has failed to find their footing so far in the first 2 rounds that have been played. Third is going to be a real test here now, as once again, they've taken a pause outright to try and correct this and a few other issues. So has it worked? It seems like yes, so far it has. The timing for DP fire is perfect. Unfortunately, the support is not there as the rest of the Library flood comes through, so it's an immediate trade from Vertical to return us down to a 4v4. Yeti tries to press, but he'll take some serious damage in the process, sending him back down to the bottom of blue stairs here. Surf suffers a similar fate as he tries to take a little bit of a duel through. I believe that hatch worked there, and unfortunately is going to take the same amount of damage that we saw suffer from Yeti's side. Yeti now finished off by Vertical as well, so Beast Coast still exercising far too much control over their clear here when they take that initial map control.
Second floor established with a minute left in the round. The only thing that Mirage maybe have to tip the scales is Rampy down below. Aside from just maybe Surf winning a fight on the site, or in this case, Kansan throwing a gunfight against Vertical, there's Rampy that we were counting on down below. But now his position is known. He's got to rotate back, and with Beast Coast in a 3v2, they can account for this and maybe still pinch him out, or even if he gets back to site safely, they still have the man advantage with plenty of time to execute.
Surprised we don't see a quicker follow-through on that, because they should have at least already been aware of Surf's position on the inside of the connector too, but it is a bit of a hard point, so may have not been wanting to test it and open up a potential multi-kill for Surf there. Rampy, though, has been given all the time in the world to rotate back over towards blue stairs, and he's more than ready for this fight as well. Shuts down Hat. Hyper trying to follow that one through, but not even able to hop over the barricade itself. Nicely played by Rampy as they're just being baited into him now, 1 by 1. Hyper trying to correct on this. He will get the trade, so it's down to a 1v1 with only 4 seconds to go. He's got to rush it towards the inside here. Surf more than ready for the challenge. Clotheslines him on the way in. So the defense finally gets their footing here on round number 9.
Yeah, got to feel for Mr. B there. Making the decision to rotate into Mudroom is a very risky one, as you can see, when you try to take a fight, when you've entered and are peeking out of the Mudroom door, you are exposing yourself to basically like 5 angles, and you can only really check down one at a time, and it's not like, oh, maybe I'm peeking the doorway and I can slice the angle, I can clear that, I can clear that, I can clear that. You really just have to commit to them all at once, and you can only look at one in general, and especially if you're trying to peek someone on Library stairs, it's a very awkward gunfight, and they can see you more often than you can see them. And that's what happened to Mr. B right there. And overall, it's one of those times where I don't really have to like put a lot of work. How did Mirage win that round? Well, sure, Beast Coast got top floor control. Sure, they even got man advantage going into the site, but they never dealt with Rampy roaming around the basement, and they didn't deal with them until there were 5 seconds left.
So a lack of follow-through from Beast Coast there ends up costing them their positioning. Towards an advantageous one inside of the round. Mirage given all the breathing room and more that they needed to quickly course correct and take back that control from the 2VX. So beautifully done by Mirage to control it as well. They will just barely preserve their lead that they got at halftime from 4-2, now up to 5-4, with Beast Coast winning up the first 2 rounds of the half. Mirage finally responding here on round number 3. Now throwing us a little bit of a curveball as they head back upstairs as well. The clash going to come out from Surf to really annoy the opening clear from Beast Coast.
Have we seen a clash in the NAL so far?
I want to say this is the first of the season. It's definitely the first for us too. I just don't know if one like snuck in on the other games. We didn't notice it yet. You've been paying pretty close attention though, so.
I was about to say, I would have taken, I have confidence in myself that I would have noticed if somebody else brought a Clash.
Pretty sure this is going to be the first
Oh my
one of the
god,
season.
a Mira and a Clash?
Oh, I didn't even notice the mirror.
I'd be molding in the comms right now. This is what I had to play against. Black mirrors and a Clash? Woo! That's unfortunate. Beast Coast not mincing any words either as they quickly move into library, so they will realize the 1-2 punch they are dealing with in terms of anchoring utility, but that won't stop Vertical from getting an opening pick. The man's simply too good. He cuts down Yetis, he rotates back, but that doesn't solve the bigger problem, which is still the Clash and the mirror windows, but at least they can go into forming a solution with the knowledge they have a 5v4.
Vertical, really a statement game here right now being made by him as well, topping out the kill feed at the moment among all 10 players in the server. Once more, had been some questions as to the effectiveness he was going to be able to bring to this team, and now finding, looks like a lot of the team overall in this half, kind of their footing for things as he's able to, once again, make some great plays, not only on the attack, but he had at least one great little retake there on the defensive side, too. We're having around those basement stairs. The Surf, like I said, being annoying, as the Clash pretty much does its only role right now, stand in the way, prevent the clear on the usual rotation route, and try to waste as much time as possible.
Well, he has wasted a lot of utility as well. All the nades for Beast Coast gone. The main thing, or I guess the main two things they might have to deal with this Clash are the Ash charges maybe, but primarily those concussions from Mr. B. So really look at if those can land. At the same time, they can also just kill everyone around the Clash or dome her through the wall. I guess it doesn't really matter if you need those concussions or not. Mr. B, after hot off that kill, has hopped in, put the bomb down, and now Beast Coast in a prime position to clean this up.
Mirage, once again, unfortunately, kind of hyper-focusing their defense on one portion of the map, not really too worried about additional angles being added into the play from Beast Coast. Sends them into a bad spot yet again, as one of their players is allowed to just brute force their way in through Office and out. It's an easy cleanup, it seems, for Beast Coast. Mr. B with one more pickup, Vertical as well, to add one to his counter, as they take command and control of yet another one that's going to tie things up yet again now, as we inch closer and closer to the end of the match.
5v5, and the only round that has gone Mirage's way has been that bar site, but because they won it, it is now locked. So their options are either repeat one of the sites we have lost so far, which in this case, Dining, they've lost twice, Office, they've lost once, or do we try a new site in Garage? That one might be a little risky because it is 5-5, but at the same time, they've lost all of the other sites, so what will they end up doing? They'll choose what they believe to be the lesser of two evils and go back to Dining, which again, they have lost twice in two very different ways as well. In one round, we saw Vertical creep up West Main Stairs, get control of the site from within. The other round, it was a bit more of a standard clear. Beast Coast go up on the Solar Rappel, take control from there, and really seemingly get a 5v1 without actually having to enter the building. Now on attempt number 3, Beast Coast will show us a new way to attack Kitchen and Dining that they have not shown, or Mirage has shown so far. Oh god, we have a blitz.
Another one has come out.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
For Beast Coast is Mr. B himself as well. Mr. Beast Coast, that is, going to bring things in here. And see if he can find solid ground yet again. Both teams as well now really showing signs of struggling inside of the early round on the defensive side, as we were seeing Beast Coast once again fall by the wayside to Mirage's entry in the opening rounds of that attack. Beast Coast is finding that same strength against Mirage's own defense here, but it seems like it's a much bigger issue, for me at least, for the Mirage side of things. It's unfortunately kind of domino affecting deeper and deeper into the round, where we were seeing the members of Mirage go with one, maybe two kills back to back. Beast Coast are at times getting the entire round following up their entry.
Indeed they are. Well, let's see if Mr. B gets the entry. One inside a piano as Mirage get the opening pick. He ADS's. No. Oh, he almost gets two, but thank God DP Fire saves us from oblivion as Mirage look primed to move to match point. You talk about entries. Mirage has been very good with them so far, and they still get it in that round as the Blitz sends it on into the Office door. If any team is looking primed to stop Beast Coast's rapid climb in the NAL, it might just be Mirage, as Hyper, with 2 minutes left, has to kill 4 separate people, and I don't think he, at least at this point, knows how he's going to take this.
So, opening peak is not going to present any players, even though there is going to be one positioned directly behind that deployable shield. Player on the defensive end is more likely given out that intel that he's made the entry, but is not going to take the risk themselves either. Hyper allowed to make the initial play, get himself all the way deep into piano as well. The player behind the deployable shield, not even wanting a piece of this one, just falls directly back through the hatch, deeper into kitchen there, and gives up this position. So letting him play it in, taking top floor control. Raj going for the control and the shutdown outright here. Not going to want to open up any clutch potential for Hyper, especially when you consider that he has all that time to play with here. Case is down, so he is going to need to, at some point, if he's really making a valid attempt for this run all the way back over to the other side of this floor to pick that back up, but looks like he's focused more on the frags than anything else right now. He's trying to see if there's any opportunities at the bottom of the Solarium stairs, but as I already mentioned, Mirage playing this very safely. They're not going to be taking any huge risks.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get the bomb down here. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Safe prediction, I would say.
That's what they call me in middle school. Safe prediction.
Safe prediction links?
Nah. Well, they can call me Links in middle school.
Safe prediction.
I had a real name back then.
You don't anymore.
I don't anymore.
Only the gamer name.
I'm like Bono. I just got the one name.
Sniper trying to still make this play happen. Obviously, like we said before, there's not really much you can do about this one. Just trying to set himself up for the best possible clutch, but it all leads to the same ending at the end of the day here. Either time runs out, someone trades him, or he is denied outright. One of those three will come true in the next 20 seconds here, as the round is pretty much over with. And Mirage are going to set themselves up. They'll get to map and match point first, and it'll be Rampy that seals the deal.
And if Mirage are able to win just one more round, that will skyrocket them to 7th place. But it will be over Parabellum. Now, just to refresh you all, the top 2 from this round robin, which will be decided definitively by the end of tomorrow, are knocked to the playoffs of the open qualifiers, which many teams have been playing through over the past few weekends, and that is who they'll play. So Mirage will not escape from that position, but they will at least narrow the gap between Beast Coast in front of us, and Sonics, and Dark Zero, all those people that we actually just saw play or are watching play right now. So while they won't escape elimination from the 8 teams of the NAL, they will at least make it a little bit more likely they could squeeze a few points and knock somebody back down into that bottom 2.
All right, so for Beast Coast here, timeout is triggered on the very final round of regulation, saving it all the way to the bitter end. We'll see if this is going to yield results for them, as it will be expiring already in just a few moments as well. 5-6 is the current scoreline if you are just joining us. So it's 1 and done now for Beast Coast. They can either tie it up outright at 6-6, guaranteeing at least the 1 point, maybe 2, of course, if they can win it in overtime. But for Mirage, it is an opportunity to claim the full 3, and that would be a massive boon to their point spread overall, as I was just mentioning here. So let's get ourselves into it. It's a basement hold for Mirage on the final round of their defense.
Not the clash again.
Oh yeah, look at that.
What do you reckon he's going to do here? Not a lot of place to move is the clash on basement.
It's kind of like the blue holder would be my assumption, right?
Well, that's about it, because, I mean, you know he's not going to play in Snowmobile, because once the wall gets open, hell's he going to do, just stand there and look at them?
Not really much to stand in the way of once the wall is open. Wine is a pretty rarely implemented route. Obviously, you could rotate the clash over there in the event they push it later on in the round, but yeah, as you said, we've already seen Beast Coast executing this once. They took the direct path through Snowmobile as well as main stairs, so unless they suddenly change up that strategy, the clash might not work out the way they're hoping for here.
We got the Rook Dot combo as well, so even if the clash strategy doesn't work out, so long as she's down, you can just pick her back up. Could work out. We don't even see the Doc Rook combo all that often.
The combat clash. Just throw her into the fight.
No shield.
She goes down, bring her back.
Ooh, oh, the attempt at a bandit trick, but unfortunately for DP Fire, not possible. They will block one Rotero drone, but the damage is already done. And at least for the moment, Surf is playing inside of Snowmobile. Now, we'll say, because Beast Coast are not going for that Thermite, they're going for that Selva, which creates a smaller hole. If Surf does want to play inside a garage, it's possible. He can stop their entry and make it difficult to vault through that hole. They're also not playing with a man advantage. Vertical with those nades, one of the main counters to that clash is now gone. That's their only set of nades as well. They might be able to deal with her by some other means, but even though Beast Coast have opened the wall, they now have to go into acquiring this remaining map control with one body down.
So Beast Coast once again, similar issue they ran into on the previous round here, but not as heavily exaggerated with them being that player down. Keep in mind, of course, Mirage are a little bit of a lack of gunpowder when you consider their clash is more likely committed to a shield for the large majority of scenarios, especially if Beast Coast attack quickly. So they still have good capability in terms of trading things out just on gunpowder, but we'll have to be careful because if they move too lackadaisically into these sites, that'll obviously give the time needed for the clash to switch over to her secondary, which is still, at least in my opinion, quite a capable gun. She can obviously re-out herself to that equation, giving back the advantage over to the defenders here. But it's slow rolling from Beast Coast because of the loss of Vertical here. Keep in mind, Vertical had been a big part of the early entry game for Beast Coast. Same with the defensive side too, so they are missing quite a bit of their own fragging powers in terms of what's actually found impact here. Surf will get pushed back by that drone, but it's, as you can see, just for a split second here, he can retake that positioning a moment later here. As Beast Coast still struggling to find the proper route downstairs.
Beast Coast, unfortunately, at the moment, looking like they have to flood down hatches and down stairwells. DP Fire cuts down Mr. B, and Beast Coast are put in even worse position. Do they go downstairs? Do they go down a hatch? Do you fight with a Clash and try to slap it out of her face? It's looking rough for Beast Coast in round 12.
DP Fire with another pickup here for Mirage. Now down to 2 for the attackers. Hat finally getting at least one exchange going, but the other player is being forced back up through the main entryway due to that Clash just exerting the control she's allowed to take here. Hat as well, the timing just so unfortunate for him as the Clash runs right through him to take him down, and cans it with one more pickup as well. Mirage are going to close it down at the bitter end of regulation and win out this matchup 7-5.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mirage's first